Welcome back to the Real Estate Podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, I want to talk about the importance of your relationships and how they affect you individually. Platonic relationships, romantic relationships, all kinds of relationships. I've talked about them in every podcast I've made, but I haven't made a podcast specifically talking about relationships and how they affect you in general. And I'm not saying in the conversation of, well, you're saying, Smith, you're saying that we don't need to have relationships. The problem isn't with the relationships, it's about how the connection is, how unhealthy it is. Everybody knows the example of pouring into everybody's cup before you pour into your own. You know, you pour in so much into other people that you have nothing for yourself. And in doing that, you don't realize how much and how impactful that is to every other relationship that you have. Now you sitting here pouring into a cup. Now you have nothing left. Now these people are expecting you to be. I've made a podcast about this before. When you come into people's lives and then you show them that, hey, this is what I'm giving you. This is the agreed relationship. We already agreed that this was gonna happen, And I'm not saying that as a good thing, but when you come into a relationship and you both come to an agreement or an understanding that this is how the relationship's gonna be, they're already gonna expect that from you, right? So you're giving so much to these people, and then out of nowhere, you have nothing left to give because, again, you poured a full cup into somebody empty, and you're no longer able to create for yourself and for other people. So now the relationship is messed up. Now there's confusion in the relationship. People are angry. They're upset. A lot of things are going on. These things happen because we're not focused on the things that we need to be focused on, which is ourselves. You can't, and I mean you can't give people the time, the love, all this stuff. You can, but is it really going to be authentic? You can't tell me that you loving your everybody else before yourself is true love, and that is healthy and that's right. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to be so unhappy with who you are because you didn't take the time to love yourself. Find out who you are. Because when you find out who you are, you'll find out what you need. You have to find out who you are. You will never know. And in all these things, it's like, well, you don't see any changes in your relationships, in your lives, because you're not focused on the things that you need to be focused on. You keep looking outward. Well, maybe if I'm talking to this type of person in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and that's not working, maybe I need to go to this type of person. If I'm not talking about in terms of like economic status, all that stuff. That's important too. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the type of person you're dating. You keep going to these different types of people trying to find something that you'll never find in them because it is in you. You don't know who you are though, so you can't get it. You can't achieve it because you don't know who you are. And then the question is, how do I become that person? You become that person by doing the things that you need to do internally, which means reading, alone time where you can think. What do you like to do? What are your values? What are your morals? You keep going into relationships and these people keep treating you wrong because that's what you're allowing. And you don't know anything else but besides the environments that were given to you at birth. So an example is, what if you didn't have a healthy relationship when you were older? You don't know what to look for. So you need to find people who have a healthy relationship. Understand that yes, you need that alone time, but in order to achieve that healthy relationship that you want, I want somebody who listens to what I have to say, who cares, not somebody who shuts it down and says you're always talking about, like they don't want to listen to anything you're saying. You have to find the understanding for yourself. So, hey, this is what I want. I want people around me who care about what I have to say. Okay. Now do the active work for yourself. Take that alone time and then eventually go out and find those people. But I promise you, like I said in the other podcast episodes, if you're looking for somebody who loves to study, who loves to work, who wants to make a business or environment, you're not gonna find them in the places that you were going to before. Okay? You're not gonna find them. All the successful people who say, how did you get to success, and how did you achieve it, and what did it look like, and how did it feel once you realized that you were no longer the person that you were before? The first person that comes to my mind, and I always use an example, is B. Simone, when she was saying that, like, she didn't like going to the club like that no more. Like, it's already 10 o'clock and she's already ready to go home. Like, she's ready to go home. It's like, once you get to a certain stage in your life, it's time to change. It's time to grow. It's time to evolve. That is the important thing. That is the thing that needs to be talked about. The truth about relationships is you. You want this relationship to work, but what are you doing? I was just recently in a couple relationships, not, of course, not together, but they were relationships that I was, trying to see, for myself. I've done some of the work I need to do, and I'm continuing to do it. So I feel like I'm able to go out and experience life a little bit, without bleeding on other people. Before, I was just bleeding. There were times when I was in past relationships in high school, which in high school, really, we tell kids and stuff, don't worry about, love in high school. Then we end up doing it, and then we learn. But I was in relationships then, and I didn't realize the impact that I had on those relationships because I was so focused on the wrong things. I was so focused on the anger, and I didn't know who I was, and that was the issue. I was just walking around angry and putting all that anger onto other people. That's what I need you to self-evaluate. Look at yourself. There's been so many times. I made a whole Instagram video today about what was it? Like, I was saying I wanted to go to the gym, right? So I ran to the gym because God called me and said, Smith, you need to start going to the gym. You need to start being more disciplined. You need to start reading more. All these things that I wasn't cultivating in my life. I wasn't letting them grow. I stopped. And I already told myself, and I said in the podcast, you stop, you die. You stop growing, you die. So I was deciding for myself and for my belief in trusting God to go out and go see, go be more disciplined in other areas of my life, not just this podcast. And I got there and it was closed. And I decided to go back, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, go out over there, and it's like a gym thing where, like, you work out and stuff, kind of like by our like pull-up bars and stuff like that. It was like nothing like big or anything, but like pull-up bars and like things like that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Then something just came and just started nagging me in my ear. But well, what about with these people? What about if they see you outside working out? What if they say this? What if they say that? What if they laugh at you? That's what happened in my head. And once you start doing the work for yourself and taking the time to understand how impactful what you say, even if you don't say it out loud, how you feel about yourself and how you feel about other people, your heart posture, how it matters, then you'll see all these different things that are going on in your life, right? And I caught it, I addressed it, and I made a video right on the spot. I said, "Oh no, we're not doing that." And I talked about how just because other people are not doing it does not mean what you're doing is wrong. If God has called you to be this person, to do this thing, and you're the only one doing it, then do it. All those people who are successful, those people who said they couldn't do it, you'll never be this, you'll never be that. Those people are successful. And everybody else who's stuck, who's stuck in this mindset that you have to be this way because everybody else is that way, and that everything else is comfortable because everything else is exactly like this, the norm of life, right? You'll never, like, what? Smith's over here making podcasts, making Instagram videos, doing all these things that a lot of people are not doing. That's so weird. I promise you, I'm coming to a understanding in my life that if I have to look crazy in order to be happy and be successful the way that God has called me to be, then that's what I'm going to do. I'll be the crazy person. I'll look crazy. And then I just started, like, I recently purchased vlogging and camera, all this stuff, so that I could start vlogging around South Korea. And then here's this other part of me that was saying, well, what about all these people looking at you like you're crazy? Who cares about what they have to say? Do what God has called you to do. That is the point of this podcast, In the Realest Way. Be who you are in the realest way. You want to be like everybody else, right? These people are lying. They're lying to themselves. They don't want to be exactly who they are. They want to be people that they care about want them to be. They want to be comfortable because the people around them are comfortable. They don't want to be that one person who decided to make a change. They don't want to be that person. And that's the issue. That's the problem. That's what this is about. The truth about relationships, romantic and platonic, any relationship. You're looking outward at these people when you should be looking inward. Look inside of yourself. What are you made of? What is your heart calling you to do? Look inside of yourself. Feel it. You got to have a calling. You got to have a purpose. And it doesn't have to be some crazy outlandish thing if you don't want it to be. But understand that it's so beautiful once you find something that you can actually connect to and have a purpose in. To feel it. So stop looking outward. I promise you. There were times I was talking to people and it was like, well, I want somebody so bad in my life. I need a man. I need somebody. I need this girl. Like, you don't need those people. You don't need those people. What you need is yourself. You need yourself. That's what you need. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're going to have to do the work. It's hard work. It is. It really, really is. But that is the truth about relationships. You want a successful relationship, but you don't even know the things that you could be triggering these other people on. And it's not a bad thing. There's always something that can happen in relationships where somebody gets triggered. But the more that we take to do for ourselves, and then the other person is doing that for themselves, when we come together, there's this understanding and this communication, something that is healthy. But we can't get to that level because we over here getting with people who neither one of us are even able to understand the ideas of communication, and not even communication comprehension. We're communicating, but are we understanding each other? I was talking to somebody right now, and the idea or the motive or the motion to be with them, right? We weren't together, but the motion to be together was starting, right? And they were saying all these things, right? They were saying, well, I want this, I want that, I want to do this with you, I want to do that with you. But they were just words. There was no action behind what they were saying, right? So you have to understand that there was a part of me who had to understand that it's not even that I'm leaving on the first red flag. It's the fact that I'm seeing that you're the type of person already. And it wasn't just that one time. It was numerous times where you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. And I just knew that, I promise you, you have to look at the principal things, the small things, and how they show up in relationships, any relationship, how they look. It's so important. It's so important that we have a relationship with ourselves. We have a purpose. We have an understanding. with ourselves before we go outward looking for other people. Because either in turn, you're going to be going into a relationship that you didn't heal from before, now into this relationship, and now this person sees you as this relationship. Like I promise you, there were times when I could look at somebody and I could tell that this person right here, they weren't healed, right? And there's people out there who would take advantage of those weak points in you, because that's what they do. They take those parts of you where you're not confident, and you have anxiety, and you're not honest about who you are. You're living in a lie. And they take those people. I've said it in the podcast episodes before, right? With people are knocking. It's an example. People are knocking at everybody's door, right? And they see this right here. They see this house. They see this house and they say, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to come in here and take everything that I need and leave. Do not be the person where you allow yourself to be taken advantage of. I'm not saying that it's going to happen and you have no control over it, but I'm saying you don't even know who you are, yet you're looking for a relationship. Do you not hear how that sounds? You're looking for somebody to come and heal you, to come save you, when that person is you and God. It's you and God. You're not going to find it in Johnny across the street. You're not going to find it with Susie. Okay? You're not. You don't go to relationships looking to be whole. You go to them whole, and then they add to it. Okay? They add to it. Okay? It's like, for example, for like if you wanted like what, like ice cream or something. So like you're this ice cream, right? You don't come to the what's it called, the accessories, when they add all the stuff to it, all the little cute things they add on there, like the syrup, the chocolate syrup, and the strawberries and the sprinkles. You don't go to a one of those machines empty-handed, right, and expect them to just make ice cream out of thin air. No, you need to come with the ice cream, come with who you are, whole as much as you can be, doing the work and healing. Then you come up there and then they can add the complimentary, all that other stuff, the toppings. They can add the toppings on there. But you can't get to that because you ain't even got the ice cream. You ain't even got the whole thing of who you are. That's the problem. They can't make it for you. They can't be that person for you. You have to be that person for yourself. And it's the same thing, repeating over and over, repetition. It's not going to be easy. And I'm saying the same things over and over because it matters, and it's important to understand that. It is so important to understand that. You're not going to find who you are in somebody else. You're not. You're just not. Those people can move you to where you need to go. They can help you get to where you need to go, but they're not going to be that person. They're not going to be that person to just save you. You need to save yourself. Be there for yourself. I'm not going to lie to you, and I hate saying it like this, but there's a clear difference with me and with a lot of people than what actually is. I can see the differences with other people, right? I can see how this person right here, they're on a whole nother path than me. They're on a whole nother journey than me. That's fine. That's understanding. Understand that there's nothing wrong with those people who are on different paths than you. It just means that your paths do not align anymore. And that's okay. Be okay with people leaving your life. No matter how you feel about them. No matter how much you actually think that they need to be there. Because eventually you're going to see, hey, actually, everybody knows the examples where like you were talking to this one person and then you go somewhere else and then you see, hey, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. You see that. And then you're like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking of talking to Bob? He treated me like I was nothing. He used me. He manipulated me. This person actually cares about me because I took the time to understand myself. Well, what do I like? well, what do I care about? What morals what boundaries? Like, how do I feel about myself? And I'm not saying that people who get with people who turn out to be manipulative and hurt them didn't do the work. It's just that it's protection from it as much as possible, if that makes sense. Like, you're still gonna meet these people in your life, but the difference is you won't meet them as much. And when you do, you can see them for who they are and then decide to move away from them. But there's a point in your life where you're healing, and then you get to actually start seeing these things more. But you have to start with yourself. That's what this podcast is about. And this one right here, it was a different one. It was weird. I'm at a weird state in my life, to be honest with you, where I've never been in this place before, like in any point in my life before. But this spot right here is so different. It's so different. I don't even know. Like, I'm stepping more into who I am, right? I'm doing all of the work that I need to do, and I'm doing what God is calling me to do. But this part of my life, it's so weird. It's weird. I'm gonna be honest. It's the truth. I'm dealing with, I'm not gonna say uncertainty. I'm dealing with, I'll use this example. I'm on a road right now, right? And I don't know exactly. Like, there's days when you wake up and you're like, oh, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. Today it was like, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. And this podcast episode, one thing that I need to work on is the intention behind when I'm doing something. I see it in TV shows, I see it in movies where like people can't do something because they don't have the intention, and it's not calling to them, right? That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You need to be honest about what you want from this. Every time I start recording this podcast, what do I want from this? What is this episode going to be about? Why do I, and this is something I need to work on. Why am I just figuring out what I'm going to talk about 2 seconds before I press play? Actually, when I press play, I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Now I'm looking weird, and I'm looking confused because I'm not actively, like, these people like Sarah Jakes Roberts. I was listening to her preach before I even started this podcast. She takes time to understand. I know she does. She takes time to understand the scripture and everything that she's saying before she goes out and speaks, so that she can be used by God in the realest way. You can't just expect it to just happen, right? Where it's just to start flowing out of your mouth and they just come to life, right? This podcast has been a lesson, a journey for me too. And the more that I'm in tune with myself, the more I can be of service to other people when the time comes. But I can't be of service to other people when I can't be of service to myself. That's what this is about. And yeah, I would say I'm disappointed in myself right now, but I understand that this is a part of a journey, and who knows, maybe the podcast episode actually flowed eloquently, like it actually worked right. Maybe this podcast episode was the thing that actually pushed me to where I needed to be. So I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I take every time, I say it, I take every challenge, every opportunity to grow, I take it. And I know it's hard. I know it's going to be difficult, but that's what this life is about. And the closer I get to being uncomfortable, the more comfortable being uncomfortable becomes. And that's as simple as it is. And I could talk about all these other topics too, like so many things. But if you don't have an actual connection to these things you're talking about, you're just going to be talking and leading people in the wrong direction. I have to understand that I have the podcast mic. And even if one person is listening to what I'm saying, even if I'm the only person who's actually listening to what I'm saying, is this the type of things I want to talk about? Is these the type of things that I know can make a change in my life? That's what I need to ask myself every time I press play, every time I turn this mic on. What do I want to talk about, and what can I make the world better in from myself? Because we all live here. This is all our worlds, right? We all live right here. So what are we doing in any way that we can? What are we doing to make it better? I don't want this podcast to be something that hurts people. I want it to help people grow. Healing, growing faith. The slogan I use is "We heal over here." I want us to heal. I want us to become the person. I want us to become the people that I know that we can become. I really do. And if this podcast episode doesn't work out right, it doesn't work out right. If it doesn't get posted because it wasn't authentically who I am right now, like, I understand that, like, sometimes you just need to post it, right? But I really want this to be something to where I'm being intentional with. I want to be intentional. I want this to matter. I don't want this is just to be something that you just do, right? With no thought behind it. I want this to have action and thought and execution with it. That's what I want this to be about. So, to recap this podcast episode, the truth about relationships is it's you. Sometimes we are the demise in our lives. Sometimes we cause ourselves to fall short, and we are the ones that are actually hurting people. So take that time to evaluate yourself. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be some truths that you're going to have to admit. You're going to have to accept some things in order to change them. But that's going to move you closer to who you need to become. In any relationship. Like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power, God. I'm truly, truly grateful. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I'm thankful for the listeners and the watchers, the viewers of this podcast. I'm really, really am grateful. This is NTheRealestWay podcast. Out.